Hello and welcome to today's Bitrix24 webinar, Perfect Project Management. Thank you for joining today. So who are we? We are Bitrix24 Gold Partners Interface. My name is Sam Connor, Sales Engineer here at Interface, and we're based in the UK, and we also have offices in Dubai and in the US. And what we do is we help companies and organizations around the world implement Bitrix24. And we offer a full range of services from pre-sale support, where we can run through your requirements and provide a customized demonstration. We can then implement the software for you. For a self-hosted edition, we offer our own hosting services, and we can provide training and ongoing dedicated support to really help you get the most out of Bitrix24. Okay, so if you've come to today's webinar, if you're learning about Bitrix, if it's brand new to you, what is Bitrix24? Well, it is a collaboration suite of over 35 tools to really help you manage your business. Now, specifically today, we'll be looking at the perfect project management tool, so how we can manage our projects and tasks within the system. And the system is used by over 8 million organizations now around the world to help them streamline their processes for their business. And Bitrix24 is available as both a cloud and a self-hosted solution. And prices start from $19 for a cloud edition, and an on-premise license is available from just under $1,500 as a lifetime license. Okay, so why use Bitrix24 for projects? So what we'll do today is we'll go through the different areas of the project management and task modules. So we'll see how we can manage projects within work groups and bring people together for collaboration. We'll see how we can manage tasks and run through tasks and assign them to people and see what stages those tasks are at within a project. And we'll also then look at task and project automation for how we can streamline automatic creation of projects in the system. We'll look at our workload management and reports so we can see what tasks and projects a user is working on and how we can build our own reports associated to the projects that are being managed in Bitrix24. And we'll also look at the external user feature. So we'll see how we can invite in our clients, customers, our suppliers into specific projects to work on those projects with us within Bitrix24. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at today is actually the creation of a project. So we'll see how we can manage the different features here, from adding employees to the system and adding tasks to the project. And we'll then look at some of the other features available in a project for collaboration and chatting. You're looking at the calendar and also document management features as well within that specific project. Okay, so let's go into our Bitrix system. So just to mention, first of all, we have this area here in our workgroup section, and this is where we can see all of the different projects that we are working on. And when you want to create a new project, you can open up this feature here. Now, just to mention, we're going to be looking at projects. You can see here you can create a work group or a project. So the key difference here is a project it can have a start date and an end date. So you have time parameters on a project. Whereas in a work group, you don't need to have a start or an end date. It can just simply be a destination in an area. For example, it could be a department work group. You don't need to have a start and an end date. Whereas on a project, you can have those time parameters. So if you create tasks in a project, those tasks have to have a deadline that is within the project end date. Okay. And you can see here there's different types of projects that you can create. So you can have an open project. So this is where anybody within your Bitrix system, they can access that project. It's an open area for collaboration. You can also have a private project, and this is where any member of your team, you invite them into this project. So it's a closed, secure environment for managing your projects. And you can also have an external project. So this is where you invite in people maybe from your supplier base or your customers who are not part of your Bitrix system. You can invite them into specific projects to work with you on those projects. And there's no limit to the number of external users that you can have on a project. Okay, so let's now go and create a private project. So let's see what we need to do here to create that project. Okay, so first of all, you can see in the form here it's opened up. We need to add some details about this project. So first of all, I can give the project a title. I can also add a description under here, so you can add more details about the project itself so people understand what this project is about. Okay, and you can also add an image if you want to. And here is the parameters that we've just mentioned. So I can add a start date and also an end date for this project. And then you can see we add a project owner. So who is going to be the project manager for this specific project? So I can add them into here. And you can then add moderators and other employees. So you kind of have 3 levels of hierarchy within a project. So I can invite the moderators, and then I can invite the other employees who will also be working on this particular project. Now this hierarchy, it's important because we can set permissions when we go into the project. So we may say, for example, the project owner and the project moderators, they can create tasks in this project. So based on those levels of role here, we can then set access permissions throughout the project. Okay, we can then select a project subject. So you can create your own subject here and select the type of subject for this project. And then we have the different features for the project. So this is a really useful feature within Bitrix24, because what you can do is you can turn on and turn off specific features that you want to have within that project. So it could be you just have a project area for tasks. So you could just turn on the task feature. Or it could be you want every single feature available here, so you can turn on every single feature. So every single project that you create, you can completely configure what features are enabled. So you're in complete control as you create these projects. Okay, so then I can add all of those features and it can then create that project for me. Okay, so you can see now across the top, it's created that project. It's created all of those features that I've turned on in the system, and it's brought all of those members of the team into this project. So I can now start working on that project within the system. So that's how easy it is to create a project within Bitrix24. But now, just while we're going through the project itself, let's have a look at one that is populated with some more information. Okay, so this is another project. So this is called BizTech project. So first of all, what you can see on the right-hand side are all of the statistics about this particular project. So we can see our owner and assistants, we can see the other members of the project, and we've got there the start and the end date. So all of that information is stored in here. Now I mentioned about how you can have different levels of hierarchy, and based on those levels, such as the project owner or the moderators, you can go into your project settings and customize the permission settings here. So as I mentioned earlier on, for who could maybe create tasks I might say the owner and the moderators. So you can set those levels of permissions throughout every single section here of the project. And you can do that for every single project that you create. And this is the activity stream for this project. So any posts, any activities, comments, they're all fed into this activity stream. So this is a really useful area for keeping up to date on all of the latest information associated to this project. And you can also add your own messages as well. So I could go into here and add a message. So you can type out messages that get posted out to the rest of your team. You can upload documents and information into here. So I could then post this out to everybody else now within that project. And on any posts that are submitted, they get fed into the activity stream here. You can like and add comments. So I could add a comment back on any of these posts. So it's a really useful area for collaborating with the rest of your project team. And when those posts get submitted, you can also turn on your notifications to make sure you're always notified of any new posts that are sent into the activity area of the project. Okay, so now let's have a look at tasks. And this is really the critical area within a project where we will manage all of the tasks associated to the project. So this is the task module here. So in here we can see all of our tasks associated to this project. Now what you can do if I click into one of those tasks, okay, this is the task page. So you can see all of the information associated to this specific task. So on the right hand side you can see the start and the end dates. You can see what stage this task is at. And here we can see all of the details about the task. We've got a checklist to complete different items. And within a task, you can also record time. So that would now start logging the amount of time that has been spent on the task. And you can see all of that time in the system here. Now, it could be you don't want to record time like that. It could be you will just want to manually add that. So that's also possible. So I could come into here and add some time and select when that was completed. And I could then come into here and add the reason for adding that time. Okay, so that's now been logged in there and it's updated the amount of time that's been spent on the task. And you also have a comment section in every single task page, so you can communicate with maybe specific people you're working on a task for. All of that can be focused in the task page itself. So you can really structure your communications in a task by task basis here. And the tasks in your project, you can see those in different displays. So here is the deadline view. So if you create a task and add a deadline, you can see here how close you are to that deadline being initiated here. So I can see my payroll details task is due today. So this is a nice display to see what you should be prioritizing. You also have a list view. So this is a list view here of all of those tasks. And just to mention, in all of these different displays, you have a filtering system. So you might want to filter based on maybe certain stages or based on who's responsible for those tasks. So you can filter through all of this information to find specific details inside the task page here. There is also a planner view. And this is a really nice view because this is your very own personal project management display. So in here, I could add my own stages into here. And this doesn't affect anybody else. So I can add those stages, and this is for my own personal project management process. So I can move my task into here, and that doesn't affect anybody else's tasks or statuses. It's your very own personal project management Kanban display. Okay, then we also have a calendar, so we can see here based on the deadlines of those tasks, where those are in a calendar display, and you can click into any of those tasks to then get more information. And a very popular display is the Gantt chart display here. So we can see all of our tasks in a Gantt chart format, and we can see here how close we are to hitting the deadlines. So this red line here indicates the deadline for the task. Now, if you're the owner or the owner of the task here, we can set settings, so I could move the deadline here of this task if I needed to. So you're in complete control as to the deadlines of your tasks in the system. And then the last display here is also the Kanban display. So in here we can see all of the tasks in the project and at what stage those tasks are at. So we can create our own stages for this particular project of what a task goes through in the system. Okay, so that's tasks in the system. And if you wanted to create a new task, you just click on the new task button here, and that will open up the task page. You can then add all of your details, very similar to how we created a project. So you can add a title, a description, but you can also add checklists into a task. So I can add different items that need to be completed. And once you've populated all of this information, it could be that this task needs to be completed every single month, for example. So you could automatically reactivate this task after a certain time period. And you can also save this information. So once you've added it once, I could save it as a template, and I can quickly capture that information and have that displayed in here. Okay, so that's how we can manage tasks in the project. And you also can see here some of the different features that we've turned on for this particular project. So we also have a calendar associated to this particular project, so we can manage all of our events and meetings for this project. And this is, as I say, an external project, so this can include an external user as well who can access this area of the system. There's also a Drive module. So here we can see all of the documents and folders associated to this specific project. And on any of this information, we can set permissions. So as you can see on this particular finance folder, the owner has full access and the moderators have read access. So we can set permissions on any of these files and folders for who can access this information. And another nice process is you can run business processes on any of these documents. So for example, I might set an approval process on this document, so it could go to the project manager to approve this document before other users can access it. So we can also add business processes onto any of these documents. We also have lists. And lists are really ways of capturing data and information associated to a project. So a very common type of list where you would add data is maybe for expenses. So in here, what these are simply tables of information. So here we've got different fields, and we've then added information about our expenses. So you can fully customize what fields of information are displayed. And if I go to add a new expense, I could add this into here, can choose my amount and what date the expense was maybe accrued on, and I can then save that into the list. Now what you can also see is we've got a status, so I could filter through this and see all of those maybe that have been rejected. So you can use the filtering system in the system here to filter through that data. And the reason it's been rejected is because you can run business processes. So that's now going to run an approval process. So it will go to the manager to either approve or reject that expense associated to this project. So again, on list items, you can also run business processes. And we've also got the chat facility associated to this project. So I could send a message to the rest of our project team. And this is an instant messaging tool, but you can also do video calling and also voice calling with your project team as well. So all of that history is saved. And if you did video calls, you can have up to 24 people on that video call at one time. And these can include any external users that are in your project. So as you can see here, Tara Green with the globe, that person is an external user and they're part of our chat conversation associated to this specific project. And that's one project in the system. So we've looked at a project there, but you also have your task and project module here. And this gives you an overview of all of the projects that are in the system. So for example, here we've gone into our task and project area. You can see each project and all of the tasks associated in this particular project. So we've got a filter on here. So we're looking at the tasks of a certain stage across all of the different projects in our Bitrix system. So this area gives you an overview of all of the different projects that are currently being worked on. And again, you've got the same displays here. So I might want to look at all of those tasks in a Gantt chart display. And it shows you here which project these are all associated to. So you can see all of that information on a project by project level as well. Okay, so that project groups. Let's just see if we have any questions to run through. Okay, so is there an option to increase layers of management starting from program level, project level, tasks, subtasks, and checklists? And within that, is there an option to add timeline to schedule time for each of them? So in terms of kind of the management side of things there, if we go into any of our tasks, you add a responsible person for each of those tasks. So you have that as a project level. As you saw, you have a project owner, moderators, and other users. Then at the task level, you can have a responsible person. And if I just go into edit this task, what you can also do is you can add other participants as well. So in here, I can choose a responsible person, but then I could also add maybe other users that are also going to be working on this task. And you can go down to the actual checklist level here as well. So if we go to the submit item in this checklist, I could add a participant who is actually going to be working on that particular item of the checklist. So you can go down to a checklist level. In terms of adding how much time is associated to those tasks, so you can have a start and an end date for those tasks in the system. And if you add those time parameters to a task and you've associated it to a person, you'll be able to go into the involvement tab within the project area, and you'll be able to see all of the tasks that that person is working on. So in here, for example, we can see Max Smith is working on this checking deadline demo task, and you could click into any of those tasks within this involvement page and see that task information here. So this involvement page will show you each user and what tasks that user is working on throughout the system. Okay, if there are any other questions, please do add them into the chat window and we can run through those for you. Okay, so now we've looked at how we can manually create a project, but what we can also do is automate the creation of a project. So this gives you a very solid structure and automated processes in the Bitrix system. So it could be, for example, in the CRM system, we've just maybe won a new piece of business, and now we need to create a project to bring a group of people together to start working on that particular project. So let's go into the CRM and let's go into one of our companies in the system. So this isn't a standard process. It doesn't come with Bitrix, but it's something that we have built and it's a fairly simple process that you can customize to build in the system. So for example, here we're in our company page called TechCo. Now maybe we've just won a new piece of business with this company, and we now need to create a project to bring those people together to work on this project. So I can click on the create project process here, and it opens up a form that I now need to fill in. So I'm going to call this TechCo new project. So I'm going to get a name. I'm going to select the manager who will be managing the project. And I then might need to select maybe a project type. And based on my selection here, it could then create a certain group of tasks that need to be completed within this specific project. So I'm going to start running that project process now. So you can see here it's created that process. And if I go to my workflow section, because I was made responsible for this particular process, what we should find here is we have now been told to either authorize or reject this particular process. So I'm just going to go into our page here. You can see here I've now got an approval for this particular project, and it's asking me to fill in some additional information. So when I think this project is going to be completed by, and I'm going to accept this project. Okay, and so what that's done now is created those notifications. So it's brought through that new project. And if we go into our work group section, we can see now TechCo new project has been created. So it's automatically created that work group. It's brought through the group of people who should be working on this project. And it's also created a set of tasks that need to be completed. So it's a completely customizable process. You could maybe create as many tasks as you like, bring in the certain people you want to have working on that project, but it just shows you the level of process and automation that can be managed in the system. So let's just have a look at that process in some more detail. So I'm just going to go back into our CRM area and go into our settings. So we can see here we have the create project. And what this does is we added the input of information, so the manager and the project type. And then once that process was run, it's then automatically created that workgroup space. It's created 3 different tasks, and it's also added a group of people into that workgroup. So you can see here the group of people that we've added into this project. So you can completely customize this process. You might want to add a calendar event. You might want to maybe add some additional tasks. You can completely customize this process using the process designer system. But it's really useful because it then automates the creation of these groups. It's a very easy approach to then streamline your project management creation processes. Okay, so that's the creation of a project using the automation. We can also do task automation in the system as well. So if we just go to our BizTech project, and if we go into our task area again, you can see here we have an area called automation rules. So what we can do on tasks is we can create stages, as you can see here. So what you can do in a project is you can progress a task through different stages to go through maybe certain task sections. So for example, here we have a testing phase. So each task is going to go through that testing stage in the system. You can completely customize these stages for every single project that you create. But at each stage here, we can also then run automatic activity. So for example, you can see those stages across the top. And one feature we've enabled here is if the deadline goes past, if the task goes past its deadline, it's then overdue. And when it becomes overdue, we're using a trigger. So we're going to automatically update the stage of that task to urgent. And because it's gone to the urgent stage, we're then going to change who is responsible for that task. So for example, it could go to a more senior manager, for example, to get this task back on track. So that's a really good example of how you can use triggers and automation to keep your tasks efficiently on track using task automation. But it might also be we want to, for example, we might want to send a notification to everyone to make them aware that the task is now at the urgent stage and overdue. So we could add a message and send out a notification. So you can completely customize the automation rules at every stage of your task process. And I could go into a different project and you would see the stages are completely different. And I can then set up the automation rules here for this particular project. So you can recreate this for every single project that you have in the Bitrix system. Okay, so that's looking at automation there, how we can create projects and also manage tasks using automation. Okay, can I use project management for running an online shop? It depends what you mean by that, really. I guess it's a little general in terms of that question. Are you wanting to connect the project management to your shop? I don't know if you're talking there about the e-store. So you can create your own online store in Bitrix. So let's just find this. And this does use the stage functionality. So you can create your own online store and you can then have your orders. If you connect to the Bitrix system, your orders then can go through different stages. So I can go into here and create my own statuses. So it uses some of the CRM and also the task automation functionality. So at each of those different stages, I can then create automation rules to process those orders through the system. But this is completely separate to a project area. So yeah, I think we would need to kind of scope out the finer details of that with you. Okay, can I get a summary of the time spent on a project or task by a member? So within each task itself, you can see the overall amount of time in the task area feature. In terms of being able to create, I guess it's a report there that you're looking for. You can create your very own reports using the report wizard in the task and project module. So in here, you could create a report, you could add your columns of information, so you could filter based on different maybe responsible people. And you could first of all see if this gives you the functionality that you're looking for on the actual amount of time. So you get the time spent feature in here. So maybe you could create a report and create a filter based on who's responsible for that particular task. So this probably would be the first way I would check, is if you could use the report wizard to build out that particular report. Another way is in the App Store that Bitrix has. It does have quite a lot of task and project management tools. And some of these are, for example, time and report features. So it allows you to build reports based on the amount of time spent on projects and tasks. And you can filter by different employees here. So I would also recommend looking at some of the apps in the third-party application area here to see if it will give you the reports that you're looking for. Okay, so now let's have a look at the extranet site. So we've mentioned how we can create projects and invite in external users who are not part of our Bitrix system. So for example, this could be clients or suppliers. And we can, using permissions, give them access to all of the same features in a project so they can collaborate on tasks, documents, etc. You can give them that level of functionality in the system. So if you wanted to invite an external user into the system, you would simply invite them from the project page. And this is what an external user can see when you invite them in. So as you can see on the left hand side, it has a lot less ability to access different levels of your Bitrix system. So this person has only got access to the BizTech project. They wouldn't be able to access any of your internal areas of your Bitrix system. But within this project, we've given them the access rights so they can add messages. They can also see all of the tasks that they're associated to. They can see the calendar area. Oh, well, they should be able to, sorry there. And we can also see in the drive module as well what information they can see. So you can see here, it's a lot less detailed in what this user can access. So we can see the product details folder. So we're based on those access rights on those files. This is what the external user can access in the system. And it could be that you allow them to upload different documents and information into here to collaborate with you. So this is a really useful feature to bring your users into certain projects. And as I said earlier on, there is no limit to the number of external users that you could have on a project itself. Okay, so let's just see if there are any other questions that you would like to go through. Okay, yeah, so if you're looking for the eStore, I guess we won't be covering the eStore today in the project management webinar. There is going to be an sites and a store webinar in the future, so we'll go through the eStore in a lot more detail. You mentioned there a question around stock management. You can add products into your online store with quantities, so you can add a stock management level of detail into your online store. But we'll go through that in more detail in a future webinar. Okay, so are the apps included? So you'll have to check. It really depends which application you are looking at. So some of those, they're all third-party applications. So what you get with those apps, you need to check to make sure it gives you the functionality you require. Some of these are free, whereas some you do have to pay. So what you should do is go into those apps. You can see here, it will give you the details of how much that application will cost, depending on what you're looking at. So you just need to go into the app. It'll give you details about the application and how you can install it. And if there is a cost associated to the application, it will tell you in this page here. So please just go through and check which applications you are interested in. Okay, so that's the app feature there. Okay, so now we'll briefly move on to the self-hosted benefits. So we've just looked there as an external user in the system. Now, one of the benefits of a self-hosted edition is it's fully rebrandable. So we can rebrand the portal where that external user comes into with your own corporate branding and your own domain. So it can look like your very own portal system that you are inviting your clients into who are working on that project with you. So we can brand up the system. You can also get more advanced automation. So we have access to the source code, and we can use that source code to build in more dynamic and advanced automation processes. Now you also get access to what we call page customization. So if you needed to in the self-hosted edition, you can edit pages inside here. So you're able to fully customize every page in your Bitrix system. So this really is where the self-hosted edition comes into its own in terms of the customization ability you can do in the system. So I could fully customize any page in the system here using the edit page tool. Now let's just leave that without saving in the system. And you can also, with the source code, we could build your very own dashboards. So we've had a few questions here about reporting. It could be you want your very own custom dashboard report to be built, and we've done this before for clients on a self-hosted edition. If there's a report that you're looking to implement, we could build a dashboard and feed that information into that dashboard for you. So the self-hosted system, it's more adaptable to this branded and any type of customization you may require. Okay, so that's an overview of the project management features. So you can see here a selection of the webinars that will be coming up shortly. Now, the question there around the online store, please make sure you come to our Sell More with Sites webinar, as we will be going through the e-store in a lot more detail and how we can create our products and project inventory. So you'll be able to see how we can manage those requirements in the Sell More with Sites webinar. But in summary today, we've seen how we can manage projects within work groups and invite users into those work groups in the system for collaboration. We've looked at how we can manage tasks either manually or using automation. And we've seen how we can collaborate not just with our own users, but also with clients through instant messaging. You can also use the video or telephony features in the instant chat system. We've looked at how we can automate the creation of projects and integrate that process from the CRM to create a work group in the project area. And we've seen also how we can create our own reports using the report wizard and also some of those applications to help you with your reporting requirements. So I hope you found today's webinar useful. And if you do have any questions in the meantime, please do email sales@interface.com and we can answer any other questions that you may have or set up a call with you to discuss any specific requirements that you would like to discuss. Thank you for your time today. Bye for now.